welcome to Playwright, a podcast about creating and sharing new ways to play. My name is Ryan Hamann. You can call me H.
And I'm Ryan Quintal. You can call me Q. I'm trying to do more of a legato H with my announcement, like the nice, you can call me Q, just a nice slur of an intro.
I always want to slip into the Paul Simon song, I can call you Betty, and Betty, if you call me, you can call me Q.
Yeah, that's very good and very on tune, or in tune rather. That's that was lovely. I wish I could whistle because I'd back you up with a do 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 do
do do do do. That's one of the things is like I was kind of obsessed with that song for a little bit back in college, and my roommate played trumpet. Like one of our very close friends played saxophone, and I was like, you guys got to just do the duet, And like I could never convince them to. I don't know why. Like there's nothing embarrassing about playing it. It's just like it's if I was playing the trumpet, like what else am I going to be playing?
Yeah, I think that there is for each individual instrument, right? The one artist or song or lick that everybody wants you to play. You hear people shout out, what is it that
well, Freebird is the
Freebird, right? So Freebird for guitar players. I think Piano Man probably for piano players, or maybe like some sonata, maybe a Mozart thing for piano players. And then I guess maybe for your trumpet friends, it's either the Mighty Mighty Bosstones or potentially Call Me Al.
Yeah, I don't know. It feels like you have to get really into jazz.
Exactly.
Or ska, maybe.
It demands a lifestyle. Yeah, and you can actually visually tell which one somebody chose.
Play the Tony Hawk song.
Giddy up, giddy up, giddy up, giddy up. But you know what that just reminds me, I love so far the past 2 albums that The Weeknd has put out, his debut album, and the most recent one is very synth wavy. If you like 80s, if you like video game music, you'll probably like the new Weeknd album. And in one of his tracks called In Your Eyes, he has got a killer guest appearance by Kenny G of all people. And you have got to, I don't know if this is something I can come on Sound to Play and just request a snippet of or something. I know it's only video game adjacent, but that Kenny G, so good.
That's cool. Well, I mean, we can there might be a way to finagle that. We just need to get it into a video game first. We need to convince people.
Yeah, I wonder. My greatest hope is that the Cyberpunk 2077 soundtrack manages to have a, let's say, Grand Theft Auto amount of tracks on it, and then therefore there's a small chance that I can get it in there.
Let's get into some video game pitches, and maybe we can work some way into finagling our own kind of Kenny G. Well, we'll see where it goes. You never know on Playwright.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'll be going first today, and what I want to present is well, this is a bit of probably a Playwright standard, I would say at this point. This is us perhaps getting too comfortable with what we are could be rightly criticized as doing too often. But anyways,
hey, I want to see if the listeners want to shake it up, they can write into us, right?
Yeah, and see we can take it in a different direction, anyways, and got to see where it goes from there. But for now, I'm going to start us off on Alien on Foot Racing. So you are given a randomly generated spore-like alien with all kinds of different weird bits and bobs. Each of its limbs and other bits are tied to controller or keyboard inputs, but you don't know what is what until you start actually experimenting at the beginning of the race. So you begin each race with a randomly generated alien, and you have to figure out how to make it go, how to it could have special needs or special quirks, but you have to figure it out all on the fly as you go. And it's kind of like kind of like one of those endurance races, but you have to figure out, what is the limit of your creature, what is, what do you need to do to keep it happy, and what do you need to do to just get one leg in front of the other sometimes. So I'm going to start the clock there.
I like the idea of I don't know if I create the creature or if I'm served the creature, but if in the event that I'm served the creature and I just kind of...
Right, you're not creating it. It's all random. So it's just like a real think on your feet co-op situation.
I like the idea of the race potentially being populated by different kinds of obstacles and maybe things to consume. And you're finding out throughout the race if you're an herbivore or a carnivore, and those what give you, speed boosts or heal you from being wiped out or something like that. What do you think about... in addition to if it's a race, but it's also a kind of discovery process, if you do something where you're also finding out if your creature is, say, waterproof, a good swimmer, or certain other attributes. I love the idea of being able to, eat enough stuff and then jump very far and that kind of thing.
I want there to be surprises and kind of risks you can decide to take or not take along the way. If you see a river that you have to cross, or you can go kind of way out of your way to find a bridge to cross it, do you take that risk? What if your creature ends up dissolving in water and then on the other side you basically don't have feet anymore? And so, all these little risks that you can take, like you never really know what to make of your specific susceptibilities or anything. And maybe there's little signs, little things you can read, shape of teeth, or things like
reflectivity of skin. So let's put that ray tracing to the test.
Yeah, but really it's just kind of making educated guesses. And if this is kind of like maybe you could set it up for kind of like short sprint like races where you're really just getting out there experimenting, and then whoever gets to the finish line first is the winner. Or maybe you do set up longer kind of multi-lap endurance races to where it's really up to you spend your first lap figuring things out, but then by then you are into the rhythm of controlling your creature, and it really does become more of a test of skill and endurance rather than just kind of pure improvisation along the entire way. I
know this comes with design challenges in and of itself, and I don't want to pack our fictional developers with too much to take on here, but I do like the idea of, I think you and I really enjoy maybe some of the longer races that, say, Forza Horizon or The Crew have to offer, where it is one long track. It's not necessarily the same track in laps, although that has its own sort of skill to it. I like the idea of here's a risk for you. Like, what if I can consume a fellow racer? I just like the idea of you getting bigger and stronger. Maybe even if you can identify a fast swimmer or a waterproof creature or something like that, or a hazard-proof creature in some way. If you consume them, you get whatever speed bonus you can have, and then also whatever power that they have. And I love the idea that takes a lot of time to like sit and tackle and fight and digest the other creature. And for the end of the race, if one person manages to do that to enough racers, you only have one or two normal kind of small creatures left, as you have this killer who decided to eat half the race, kind of running lightning speed. And then now you have a real tortoise and hare situation.
Maybe it's kind of, .io rules where you all start off around the same size, but if you kind of go out of your way to really kind of, pig out on your first lap, then you grow enough to where you are larger than the other creatures, and you can at that point eat them if you can catch up with them, It's funny because Mario Kart a little bit has this mechanic in coins now, right? Where if you do have 10 coins in your racer, they are just faster than they were in other scenarios. And there's ways to lose coins too. So I imagine you could bring in, some way to force a bowel movement on some of these creatures. I do like the idea of actually knocking the crap out of them, but the idea of the consumption and that leading to speed and bonuses, I think is interesting, especially I know we've played with before on the show, the idea of having these creatures, having there be a real contrast in size of the creatures, right? Or potentially some creatures, maybe depending on the creature type, instead of getting bigger or smaller, they get more legs, something like that. Yeah, the speaking of that kind of 10 coin rule, one of my favorite implementations of that in Crash Team Racing on the original PlayStation, if you collected kind of fruits throughout the match, you could get up to 10 of them. And once you kind of hit that 10 threshold, all of the items that you pick up become kind of more powerful variants of the items.
Oh, cool.
It's more incentive without really destabilizing the race. Like you know, if you are really being thorough and being kind of a skilled racer, then you're picking your routes so you kind of optimize fruit gains early on, then you are kind of playing with a more powerful deck of cards by the second or third lap.
I love that, because the thing that, I think is classically frustrating with your Mario Karts is being in first place and just getting no useful items, really, or having such a rare chance to get anything decent. So the idea of the fruit collection and the ability to... I almost wonder if there's a mechanic of the only way you can tackle another racer, or the way that Mario Kart almost has the two racers bumping into each other and who's going to get the speed boost out of that equation. The idea of you actually have to eat to get to a size to ensure that you're going to win one of the on-track brawls with another racer. It's like the biggest / most fed creature has the advantage or something.
And you'd always think, like, I think it's, there's this kind of standard kind of codified structure for character types in a way where bigger creatures are slower and more powerful, smaller creatures are faster and more nimble. And so you could still kind of maintain that with the question being, in a typical racing game, well then, how do you ever catch up to anyone else if you are bigger and slower at that point? But we have to kind of remember that this isn't a standard racing game, we aren't cars accelerating at top speed in a straight line. We are creatures kind of, trying to barely fumble around just to try to make progress, and limbs could be in any number of places, and they're not always going to be advantageous to winning a challenge. So, it might not be as difficult as you would think to catch up with another racer, as long as you kind of really kind of stay on your game.
I thought where you were heading with that, and I think this is also potentially an interesting twist, is in almost more modern in some way, if every creature is flat, and maybe you can design a creature, right? Like, let's say we get into it's free to play. Now we've got skins and stuff we can sell you, but you make your creature, every creature has the same starting speed, strength, that sort of thing. And as you get bigger, you get that higher top speed, slower acceleration, maybe even more momentum. Like as there's downhill portions to the races, your character kind of flies down them a little faster because gravity's pulling them that much harder. But now you give the creatures the ability to yak up their food and throughout the course of a race be constantly changing body size and stuff. If they know they're going down a stretch that's a lot of curves and turns, and really nimbleness and deceleration and acceleration are going to be the name of the game, then you want to make sure you're small for that portion of the track, whereas in a straightaway, being as big and powerful and bumping other creatures and having the most momentum is what matters.
All right. I think that gets us close enough to the 10-minute mark. Let's go ahead and wrap it, and let's give it a name. Something that immediately comes to mind is the N64 racing game called SCARS, which was Supercomputer Animal Racing Simulation. I don't know if there's some sort of a fun acronym for kind of genetically modified. Even, those long kind of mouthful titles like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is pretty fun as well, if we can find a fun combination of words to use there.
What if you did the Monster All-Stars racing series and call it M.A.R.S?
That's fun. We could do M.A.R.S. See if we can even get a Monster energy drink sponsorship. I guess they're giving them out to games these days.
Hey, between my pitch for skins and yours for endorsement deals, we're gonna be making that 2K21 money, right, baby.
Okay, cool. Let's get to your pitch. What are you bringing us today?
I know the latest hotness. It feels like it changes monthly now, but the latest hotness is Among Us. Everybody's playing it. People are talking about it. But, a game that came out a couple of years ago and seems to have a pretty steady community of people that enjoy it is this Friday the 13th game that didn't necessarily review super well, but it seems to be a streamer favorite in terms of play style. And I'm thinking about kind of social gameplay and, social engineering. And I like the idea, and I understand that there's a recent game that just started doing this about ghost hunting, essentially. I wish I knew the name of the game.
Phasmophobia?
Oh, well, there you go, Phasmophobia. What I'm really thinking about is a game where you are a group of friends, and I think we may have pitched something similar in the past, where a group of friends, these are all a multiplayer social game, where you're all trapped inside of some place, some establishment. You are being hunted, but Jason is such a lame villain, so I want to sub in Jason for the pantheon of great bad guy creatures you can do. Zombies, mummies, vampires, werewolves, whatever, and you have to find the resources and stuff within the environment, the garlic, the silver bullet, what have you, the crucifix, to fight off these monsters as a group, and you are rated and scored by how many people survive.
This does sound a little bit similar to Dead by Daylight, another game that's kind of doing a similar thing. This one seems a little bit more rooted in kind of like traditional types of monster variants, and maybe this could be kind of its identity as like a late 1800s setting instead of kind of like a modern day slasher horror movie setting. But so are we thinking something kind of like along the lines of Evolve and does kind of asynchronous multiplayer, predator hunting ground, stuff like that?
I could go either way with this. Like, we could say it's almost Left 4 Dead style or Dead by Daylight. Gosh, there's one more that I'm thinking of. That's almost like a wave by wave arena shooter thing. But the idea of somebody being the bad guy, I think is cool, or the bad guy being AI is fine too. One of the things that stood out to me recently, I beat Gears of War 5 finally over this past week, and Gears 5 is actually pretty good at creating those situations where your character is grabbed and you're kind of out of control and you find yourself button mashing to escape, or someone else on your team has to, knock the bad guy down in a way. But they do great work with the camera and great sound effects to really give you that feeling of, oh crap, like it's got me. And I do think it would be great to incorporate that a little bit into this type of game, where the feeling of, the werewolf busting through the window or the zombies breaking down the door, whatever have you, and being grabbed feels like a real moment where maybe the team can rescue you, but you feel panicked and helpless.
Another game I want to draw attention to, as we're kind of drawing comparisons here, is called Hunt Showdown. Do you know this one?
I've heard of it. I don't know it.
It is it's a bit of an odd one. It's a competitive game. So it's you and I think it's team-based, either team-based or there are like just like a small handful of other players kind of on kind of medium scale maps. But it's set in the, I think, early 1900s, maybe late 1800s. Could be kind of like a Civil War. Feels more recent than that, but it's kind of in this Louisiana swampy type of area. But basically, you're on these maps. It's kind of like a battle royale, but you're not actually spending most of your time fighting the other people. A lot of it is kind of stealth based. You're trying to stay quiet. Your weaponry isn't. It's old weaponry. It's period appropriate, and so it's loud. It's inaccurate. Like you're not going to want to get into a lot of honest gunfights because it's going to just come out. Everyone's going to come out a loser in that situation. So when you are trying to fight the other players, you are setting traps for them and trying to kind of discern their location based on environmental details and stuff like that. But the thing that makes it interesting is that each map also contains kind of like an urban legend monster in a way, whether it's like a serial killer or, like some, not somebody that would like blend in necessarily, but like kind of a grotesque, horrible type of monster, something that would have a lair that would set up in like one of those, like, the evil butcher or something like that. You would have this kind of like the primary task that you are there to do is to essentially hunt down this kind of urban legend monster. So it's kind of like Monster Hunter in a way. It's like preparing for battle, making sure that you're equipped. If you go in just kind of like blindly without gathering supplies and stuff like that, then you're going to go down in no time at all. So you're kind of like competing against everyone else. You're also hunting down this one specific monster. So I think that there's fun ways to kind of balance competitive and semi-cooperative elements as well.
You know, one thing that strikes me that maybe is a more unique twist on some of these is you talked a little bit about Evolve and you know, that game had mixed success, but I wonder if you specifically make the monsters, and you might have to twist fiction a little bit to do this, but you specifically make the monsters that turn other people into the monster. So now you have your zombies, your vampires, your werewolves. Like one of the central fictions of them is that they turn other people into them. And I wonder if the game flow is not more, you start off with this AI threat, and you're trying to protect your group, but as members of your group are bitten or, you know, I guess they all bite, huh? God, that's a... We don't have a lot of great ideas when it comes to horror. Mm-hmm. But when somebody's bitten, then you get more into the Among Us social mechanics of determining who was bitten. You create a lot of moments where there's, you know, the lights are out or there's confusion, and the person who is bitten, they feel the rumble on their controller. Or they get an indication just to them that they're bitten. But if they can, once you're bitten and you know you're going to turn, the amount of people, you can potentially defeat the other players in the party and still win. So you win by either surviving or you win by turning and murdering the rest of your group.
It would be interesting if you don't know which monster is currently on the map. And so if it isolates somebody, tracks them down, and turns them, there are different scenarios that can prompt them to turn into a werewolf, to turn into a vampire. You know, they, for the most part, they remain seemingly a helpful member of your party. But, there are different triggers that you'd have to kind of be wary of. So maybe one of them transforms night, one of them transforms during the day.
Yeah.
You know, they can even like find ways to, maybe there are things that they can eat that would suppress the physical change. And so they can really kind of like blend in with you. So they're kind of, they're trying to look like they're being helpful and hunting down the monster while they're trying to play their own game of their own mind games of trickery. And then maybe there are signs that you can look for as a surviving player to try to find out what kind of monster is on the map so that you can kind of have a sense of what to look out for or when to put up your guard.
I love the idea of I know Discord's so prevalent, but if you had an in-game voice chat of when someone is transforming to actually put transforming effects Hollywood style on their voice. Yeah. So you can really get a good werewolf vibe going on. But yeah, the idea of suppressing it, and the vampire is almost the most insidious, right? Because since this is my unofficial ray tracing episode, now you can do no reflection and small indications like that, where if somebody's paying attention, they can spot things. And then, of course, can the team find the garlic, the crucifixes? I even just like the idea of somebody who needs an exorcism, just possessed people. But this maybe pushes it more towards the evolve realm and a little bit less the sort of contained space. But I think doing that 1800s pitch, but also potentially having the maps be, something sizable, something maybe we'll call it 50% of a PUBG or an Apex Legends, where there is the opportunity for maybe some, really crappy horse and carriage vehicle work, and the idea of being on that sprawling estate with a super fast werewolf that can chase you, or something like that, or zombies. Like the second that it is a zombie, the more noise you make, the more AI zombies end up showing up, and you get a real Night of the Living Dead feeling to it.
I want to, kind of inject elements of Monster Hunter into this, to where you really have to track your enemies. You really have to kind of like find clues and signs for what they are and what they're doing there. I think there's some kind of clever fun to be had with that. Anyways, we are coming up on our 10 minutes. Let's go ahead and name this one.
We have Apex Legends. Do we need like a horror legends or something like that?
Or Apex Predator.
That's better than what I just said. What do we call do you remember that when Tom Cruise was in that Mummy and they were like, we're going to make a something cinematic universe or something?
Yeah, it was the Dark Universe.
The Dark Universe. Maybe there's something there.
It's a very edgelord name.
Well, we can get the proper metal bands to do the soundtrack work, and I think we're in. There's so many video games that are like Dark and Dark Side and Darkness, and there's also even good names like Sir, You're Being Hunted, which is a totally different. What says iconic monsters but surviving with a group of innocent bystanders? Survive the Nights on Steam is already a game.
See, like Monster Hunter is really the most straightforward. That's the thing that my mind always keeps circling back to, but we really can't.
I think we can't be sued for Monster Hunted.
I like that. That's a nice spin.
It's the proper amount of camp for a playwright title.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Let's head over to our community and see what you all have pitched this week for us to discuss, dissect, and potentially find willing publishers for on the show. We've been signed up for a mailing list, it looks like, for the Sakya Monastery of Tibetan Buddhism.
Yes.
And we got their weekly events and announcements. So let's go through there and see if anything strikes our fancy and inspires us to make a thrilling video game. Upcoming online events: calm abiding meditation via Zoom, instruction followed by meditation practice. There's a Zoom link there. It's actually kind of tempting. Oh, it's already happened. That's all right. On Sunday, there is a Chenrezig and H.H. Trinley Rinpoche Memorial live stream. Although we are currently unable to hold in-person practices due to the coronavirus precautions, Sakya Monastery is able to live stream our regular Sunday Chenrezig meditation practice for all who wish to participate remotely. There is a Monday Movement for Meditators Zoom class. Have you ever wanted some adaptable, friendly exercise that you could utilize to help with aches and pains from meditation postures? This class will combine the methods from Tibetan yogas, Fletcher, Pilates, and the breathing exercises of Martha Graham in a fully integrated and adaptable approach. It is taught by a dance professional. There is a Chenrezig via Zoom. I don't know what that word is, but it keeps coming up. Oh, it's probably here. Chenrezig is the Bodhisattva, or deity, of loving kindness and compassion. The Chenrezig service and meditation is the central spiritual practice at Sakya Monastery. It is very easy to practice and enables you to develop loving kindness and compassion in your life. Sounds quite nice, and it's a little bit of an about at the bottom here. It says, Sakya Monastery provides access to Buddha's teaching and guidance in a community of practitioners. We offer a wide variety of classes on Tibetan Buddhism, spiritual practices, philosophy, and culture. Sakya Monastery, which is founded by His Holiness Jigdal Dagchen Dorje Cheng, provides a place to learn from highly qualified Tibetan lamas in a beautiful traditional setting. We are blessed to have His Eminence Avikarita Vajra Rinpoche as our head lama. He is supported by Her Eminence Dagmo Kusho Sakya Kenpo Jampa Lama Migmar Lama Kelsang, our Sangha of monks and lay practitioners, and our board of advisors. All right, I think that's some information there. A lot of meditation going on, so let's see what we can do to turn that into a game.
Thinking about the meditation angle, I almost can't help but turn to my Apple Watch, because it has that sort of breathe app, which depending on the user, that's anything from a really, kind reminder throughout the day to take a moment for yourself, to a really parenty nag of why aren't you breathing, which is kind of an annoying little thing to have on your wrist. But I enjoy it, and one of the ways that it kind of guides you through your breathing is these haptic pulses that go up and down and encourage you during your breathe in and breathe out. to kind of monitor yourself and control it. And so I'm wondering if there's an angle to this that is like leveraging the rumble in the controller so we can accomplish some true Buddhist meditations with a group.
There's a game that I really like called Moshi Moshi. It is a kind of a twin stick shooter where it's a 3-color game essentially. Yeah, either 2 or 3 colors depending on, I don't remember offhand, but basically you are one color, your enemies can be one of the other colors. The background is comprised of kind of like radiating rings of the 3 colors. They kind of, they switch off. If you or your enemy is on a background color that matches their own color, then they essentially no longer exist. And so your bullets won't impact them. You are able to kind of slip by enemies, like whatever it is. They become invisible, don't exist anymore. And so you really have to play kind of with that limitation in mind. And so, maybe there's something we can do to kind of tie that type of mechanic to like a heart rate sensor, where you're tasked with playing kind of like a Geometry Wars style twin stick shooter wearing a heart rate monitor. And as your heart rate is low, it, you get a really clear view of what's going on in the match. And you really have to kind of like focus on, like, if you want the clearest vision, your heart rate has to be below what would be a normal resting rate. As your heart rate elevates, then it obscures the vision of what's taking place. Maybe it looks like you're kind of looking into a tube. Maybe as your heart rate goes on, you kind of pull farther out, and you get the sense that like you don't have as much control over what's going on anymore, which it's basically a tool to kind of teach yourself to overcome your body's natural reactions and to calm yourself and really take control of your biological being.
That's interesting. One of the games that honestly, I don't know if it has any place in modern gaming, but I deeply miss this game, which is Bejeweled. I loved Bejeweled. It's a really simple match 3 game. It was kind of the original one of those, at least in the modern era. Mm-hmm. Bejeweled, I think 2 or 3 introduced this mindfulness mode, or this relaxation mode, where it actually had this little semi-transparent marker kind of in behind the jewels that would go up and down and encourage you to kind of match your breathing rhythm. So I wonder if we can have some mechanic that is both your heart rate and you make sound as you into a microphone, and I wonder if you can measure that or quantify it somehow. Fitness boxing hasn't. They're very specific with how they want you to breathe when you throw a punch, which is you should make a kind of a quick outward breath as you throw a punch. I don't know why. I don't know if it provides more power through the punch, or if it just helps you have control over when you're taking your breaths, and therefore give you better sort of control or stamina. But I do like the idea of bringing in breath control into this as well, because meditation is very much about even counting one's breaths. If you can count up to 10 and don't worry about going past, just like start over, just keep going 1 to 10 and mastering mindfulness that way.
So we have, I'm curious now, what types of biological sensors are available and how cheap they are to acquire. I know that there are, it is one of those things that like psychologists do sometimes. It's like they'll hook somebody up with like a kind of a biological monitoring system. And when people see their heart rate and they learn, things that they can do to calm themselves down, and they actually see the results of that happening like on the screen in front of them, it becomes a lot easier to do it in the future. So it's a way that people are kind of trained to be able to deal with panic attacks and stuff like that, where you would need to kind of rapidly calm yourself. And so once you have that kind of data available to you, then it becomes entirely doable. We could always, get devious by adding, vibration functions that would try to, startle people or whatever. Like, I don't know if what this is just kind of like training people to not have emotional, physiological reactions to video games anymore. I don't know if this would be a negative for people, but it could be kind of like a positive mental health thing in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if you build a game that's really tying metaphors to certain things. So maybe you control a boat or an airship, and let's imagine a sailboat for a second, and your ability to push the ship forward is about the breathing out, and the sound that it makes, the microphone interprets it, goes, okay, that's the breathing out sound, and I'm going to kind of, push the boat, give it a little nudge forward. And then your heart rate and your sort of level of calmness is tied to the rockiness of the ocean or the skies. And so to get to your destination, you're really trying to keep the sea calm and keep the vehicle, the boat, moving. And, maybe it's it can be as simple as, some of the Ring Fit stuff isn't even that complicated. But it can be that simple as just an A to B, but potentially, you have moments that are introduced in the later levels that would cause excitement. Something that, a flash of lightning, a sudden flock of birds, perhaps a scary shark, and your ability to keep breathing, stay calm in those moments is, in a way, showing you that meditation is very big on allow the outside noises and sounds to fade away, to drown away, and focus on your breath and focus on being mindful and being right there just then. And so if it's nothing except for, in the same way we see so many fitness games that are like, hey, just play it every day, and it's basically the same thing, but hopefully you get better and better, or you burn calories in the process. Maybe that we could do that for mindfulness. And I think apps like Headspace, to which I have, it's great for an everyday thing, but it's so easy to play games that get you really riled up, especially multiplayer games, right? It gets the adrenaline pumping, and to have a game that you can switch to with something on your PS5 or your Xbox Series X or whatever that you can quickly switch to and just say, okay, now this is my cool down game. This is my chill out game that actually helps me master it in real life, I think is neat.
It is cool. And maybe there's a mobile app that can do some of the same things. So you can kind of have it with you as you go and kind of make it into a lifestyle type of experience. But I think that'll just about wrap it for now. Thank you very much, Sakya Monastery of Tibetan Buddhism, for sending that one in. And let's give it a name. What are we going to call this one?
The word Bodhisattva, just as a word.
Bodhisattva is a nice word. It's it always makes me think of the song too. So that's another fun. That is I won't go into that. I think that's a nice way to, and it kind of has a ring of like one of those early arcade games. You know how they always have kind of like seemingly unrelated single word titles, like Salamander. It's like, who would have thought that Salamander would be a space shooter?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a fun name. If you would like to submit a video game of your own, you can do so by going to playwrightcast.com/pitch. You can email us or sign us up for a newsletter, apparently, at playwrightcast@gmail.com, or you can tweet us at playwrightcast.
Special thank you to PROTODOME for the use of our theme song Hello World off the album Blue Noise. And when you have a spare breath, why not go breathe, be mindful, and live in the moment while listening to a great Cane and Rinse podcast. I hope the next episode of Sound to Play is very relaxing for all of our behalf, Sage. There's Sound to Play. There's The Sausage Factory. There's Cane and Rinse. And there's even more in terms of articles and Mikhail's live streams, and there's so much to enjoy.
To take us out of the show today, I'm going to be delivering a redacted game. This is, we'll see how it goes. The redacted lines have been drawn, and an elite group of sly strategists are massing redacted at your redacted. You'll have to command ground, air, and redacted if you hope to survive the coming redacted, and it won't be easy. With 114 maps to redacted on both single redacted and multi-redacted modes, Redacted brings redacted to a depth never before seen on a redacted.
Never before seen. Okay, so we've got ground troops potentially, or units. We've got air. Did you mention sea on there?
No, there is a third thing, but that has been redacted.
That should be the quote of this whole segment. There is a third thing, but it has been redacted. Okay, so there's many units. There's 113 maps, which is quite a few maps. I feel like games of that scale, or would even tout that as a number, are not necessarily modern, because it used to be, we used to talk about how many maps does it have, or how many levels does something have. So that feels kind of like an
nowadays,
anachronism.
when you're hitting those numbers, you might as well just go for procedural generation, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. So, okay. I'm sensing RTS in this. So I'm going to start with, God, the thing about RTS is that they're all franchises. Is this Age of Empires?
No, it's not.
Two.
It's not in the Age series, including Age of Mythology. It is not that.
Okay. Give me some superlatives or some notable metadata.
All right. It is a 92 Metascore and an 8.9 user score.
So it's good. It's quite good. So I guess the Age series would have made sense, or doesn't necessarily make sense for Air. So I'm guessing maybe my next go is a StarCraft, or StarCraft. Let's call it 1, the original StarCraft.
It is not in the StarCraft series.
Ooh, one guess left. All right, what else? Do you have any additional support for me? And then I would take one more run through.
Pull up some user reviews. There are not any zeros from what I can see.
Wow.
The lowest that I'm pulling up is a 5, which that's pretty good. I can't give you the certain types of information. I can tell you, and this is not going to be helpful, but on the Metacritic page, the trailer that is featured underneath the description is a trailer of the wrong game. So Metacritic really, for such an esteemed game, they really didn't do their homework. It's a Metacritic must play, but who knows what game they're talking about.
So that takes me into maybe games that are not super maintained, super in the consciousness.
That's a good inclination.
Okay. Read me the description one more time.
The redacted lines have been drawn, and an elite group of sly strategists are massing redacted at your redacted. You'll have to command ground, air, and redacted if you hope to survive the coming redacted, and it won't be easy with 114 maps to redacted on and with 114 maps to redacted on and both single redacted and multi-redacted modes. It won't be easy. Oh no, that's the same line. Redacted brings redacted to a depth never before seen on a redacted.
Depth never before seen. That's either a really big clue.
So it's never before seen on a redacted. So it's not just never before seen, period.
Oh.
It's a minor difference, but it does make one.
No, it makes a huge difference. So, okay. So, and that also clarifies that my thinking of that. Is this like a gimmick, sort of never before, or no, not, I mean, talking about like gameplay, but it seems like it is talking about gameplay, but it's talking about how amazing it would be to have this gameplay on a platform that maybe is bereft of this type of game.
Could be, or at least this is the example that is the best use of, or is the best implementation of this type of gameplay on the platform.
Oh, man. I feel like it's so boring for me to continue to just pick RTS games, but
you do have more clues if you want year or anything like that.
Yeah, that would be great. A year would be helpful.
All right. I will say that I'll give some awards and rankings. This is the number 3 best game of its platform of 2001. This is the number 3 most discussed game of its platform of 2001, and the number 2 most shared game of its platform of 2001.
2001. My mind is in Command and Conquer territory, but I'm not entirely sure if it was kicking around in 2001 or if I'm like way late to that. Because when I think of Command and Conquer, I think of, FMV games, and and that does not strike me as like a totally modern thing. Okay, there's a ton of...
the famous Tim Curry clip was from, I think, 2009 maybe?
Oh.
Or 2007, somewhere around there. So they were still doing FMVs a lot later than everyone else was. I think just as more of kind of like a legacy thing.
We shot this 2 years ago. We didn't know it was not going to be cool by now. You guys give me a break.
The Tim Curry clip is very cool.
Make no mistake about it.
You know what I'm talking about, right? Like, I will go to the one place not corrupted by capitalism. Space.
I didn't know that's what.
Oh, you have to see that. It's just pull it up on YouTube or something. It's pretty funny.
All right, I've got some tubing to do, some curry tube. I'm into that. Okay. Oh my God. I'm commanding units, air and land, and redacted. I feel like the redaction there is big as well.
It's nothing surprising, I would say.
Okay. I'm not sure I want to guess another RTS, but I'm going to guess Command and Conquer Red Alert.
No, not a Command and Conquer game, sorry.
What do you got for me?
And actually, not an RTS at all.
Oh, I was in the wrong headspace.
Close, though. Close. I'll read it unredacted. And maybe I'll just redact the title, which does come up, and see if that's enough information.
Hold on. Oh, if it's not an RTS game, is it is it a strategy game?
I think we'll just have to find out.
Okay.
The battle lines have been drawn, and an elite group of sly strategists are massing troops at your borders. You'll have to command ground, air, and naval forces if you hope to survive the coming wars. And it won't be easy. With 114 maps to battle on in both single-pack and multi-pack link modes, Blank brings turn-based strategy to a depth never before seen on a handheld.
Son of a bitch.
2001, what is it?
Is this Advanced Wars?
Yes.
Oh my God. It's Advanced Wars. I just am like...
So turn-based instead of real-time, but still pretty close.
Yeah, I was kind of in the headspace of... Gosh, why haven't they done another Advanced Wars? Anyway, I went to like mobile when I was thinking never before seen, but 2001 is too early for touchscreen mobile phone gaming. And I know that there was several attempts to port, your early RTS games to some of those, the iPhone and Android phones early on. But this was so pre-it. But Advanced Wars, oh my God. And we're all still waiting for Nintendo to give us more Advanced Wars.
Image and Form, I think they're the ones that... And Intelligent Systems, that's it.
Intelligent Systems.
They're entirely focused on Fire Emblem these days. And as long as they continue to be rewarded with seats on the Smash Bros. Roster, I don't see them switching that up anytime soon.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I wonder if when they go into their business meeting, one of their KPIs is, can we get one of these characters into Smash? Will it work? I don't know. They've got a cape and a sword. They've got a lot of those. I don't know. Smash seems to be pretty warm on adding as many of those types of characters.
They already have 7 M.A.R.S. We don't need another.
What, you're not excited for Byleth? You don't want Byleth in there?
Oh, geez, that was a dark morning. Can't believe I woke up early for that.
Well, at least we've got, I don't know, you played the Steve stuff, but hopefully it was more interesting to play than another sword character. Although Steve has a sword at times, isn't he?
Yeah, he's difficult to get a hang of. But, I like that they're continuing to change up play styles and stuff like that. It's cool. It's not another Fire Emblem character, so that's all that matters.
That's the high order bid, baby.
All right, that'll do it for us this week. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you again next time.
Bye.